to improve productivity. So before we get started, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Chamber's website. If you could please hold all of your questions until the end, but you can enter them in the chat as we go. Today's roundtable is hosted by Kathy Rachowski, the Executive Director of Workforce Board Lehigh Valley, and the President and CEO of the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, Tony Iannelli. Today's conversation will be facilitated by Denise Mayatico, the Vice President of Public Policy and External Affairs at the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber. With that, I would like to turn it over to Kathy to get us started.
Thank you, Isabel. It's always a pleasure. Good afternoon, everyone. We are thrilled to have you join us again today as we explore a topic that truly does impact every single one of us, not only individually, but also in how we support and work alongside one another. As I reflected on today's topic and specifically workplace stress, I just realized how easy it is for all of us to get caught up in the constant cycle of what needs to be done or rushing to the next meeting that we have. And so in doing so, we often forget that taking care of ourselves and one another is not just important, it's the right thing for us to do. So here at the Workforce Board, we've made a small but very meaningful shift in our language. We've moved from talking about work-life balance to life-work balance. That simple change has had a powerful impact on how we prioritize our well-being and how we show up for each other every single day. I hope today leaves you feeling re-energized and equipped with some practical tools that you'll be able to use for yourself and for your teammates. And with that, I am proud to introduce to you our Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Tony Iannelli.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that standing ovation, Kathy. I appreciate it. It's great to be with everyone. And Kathy, you've been here several months now, and we love every minute of working with you. You're doing an amazing job, and you and Sarah make a fantastic team, and the whole group at the Workforce Board. And we are really thankful to be a partner with you. And by the amount of people on this screen that I see today, we're all very happy that we're partnering with you. And this is a very, very important topic. At the Chamber, we found it important and increasingly important every year. And I often say, like any good athletic team, if your body and mind isn't rested, you're not going to perform at the peak. And today, performing with these kinds of things could make life 24/7, which I enjoy, but it does wear you down, and you got to be ready for it, and you got to be able to meet the challenges. So we are anxious to see almost 50 people on this screen and on this group today. Happy about that. And with that, I will turn it over to the best moderator on the planet, and that is our VP of Public Policy, Denise Mayatico.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Kathy, and thank you, everyone, for carving time out of your day for this important conversation. And welcome to today's session of the Engage Roundtable series. Today, we're focusing on workplace wellness. According to global data, workplace stress is extremely common, with over 83% of American workers experiencing daily stress at work and 94 reporting chronic stress at work. Women tend to report higher levels of stress at 54%, compared to men at 47%. And our younger workers under 40 are the most effective, with 58% reporting significant stress at work. Nearly all workers, 99%, acknowledge that workplace stress impacts their mental well-being. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, for every $1 a company spends on wellness, they receive a benefit of $4 in productivity gains. So today is about managing stress and improving productivity, and statistics show that there is a direct correlation. In addition, the U.S. Department of Labor statistics share that workplace stress contributes to 120,000 deaths per year. So that is an amazing and frightening statistic. These statistics are staggering. We look forward to providing some education, tips for creating workplace environments designed to manage stress, as well as sharing best practices among the group in today's session. We have two presenters this afternoon who specialize in workplace wellness, Dylan Marcus and the Shanty Project. Dylan Marcus holds the exclusive license to teach Spot It, a proven and practical 4-step method that helps leaders stress less and respond more effectively in challenging situations. The Spot It method equips leaders with tools to recognize emotional triggers in real time and choose emotionally intelligent responses, strengthening self-awareness, composure, and leadership effectiveness. We are so pleased this afternoon to have with us Jamie Melandra and Tara Marcus from Dylan Marcus, our first presenters. Ladies, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. Last week, I was on a Zoom call, much like this, with a client of mine, and we were actually preparing a Spot It workshop for her organization. When in that conversation, she told me that she just had learned last week that her organization was being acquired. So she was scared not only for the people that she's taking care of from a wellness standpoint, but she was also triggered for herself because she's in a sort of an ancillary support role. So while planning for the offering for the organization, we actually stopped and spotted the situation for her. So Spotted is a tool that you can use in the moment when you are being triggered or in a fearful way or in a frustrating way, which is why we love it. And Denise, absolutely echoing, this was prior to COVID. We noticed an uptick in stress and anxiety in our clients that we had never seen at that level before. And we had been using Spotted ourselves in our family for like 20 years. And we're like, why aren't we bringing this to our clients? That's what we do. We bring leadership curriculum. So we went ahead and we got this license from a nonprofit who's been around since the late 1930s, early 1940s. So we are going to share with you a best kept secret. It's called Spot It. And JB's going to jump in and tell you a little bit about it. And we're not only going to talk about it, we're actually going to practice and show you exactly what it is. So we won't keep that a secret. And you go ahead and advance the next slide.
Absolutely. So before we dive into the method, we just wanted to take a quick pulse check to see right now in this moment what your relationship is to stress. As everyone was mentioning in the introduction, and as Tara just mentioned now, after all of our years of doing this, we have yet to meet anybody who is immune to stress. As humans just existing in this world, we are encountering situations that can trigger us and evoke these stress responses. So there's a number of reasons that we can be stressed, right? So maybe it's a financial reason, work, maybe your coworker called out and suddenly you have an influx of workload. Maybe there's some tension in your home life or social, your relationships. Again, the situations are endless, truly, of what can cause us stress. But before we get started, we would love to just invite everybody, if you're comfortable, to ask yourself on a scale of 1 being no stress at all to 5 being very, very high level of stress, where do you fall in this range right now? And if you'd also love to share in the chat, maybe a quick note as to what kind of situation is bringing you stress today. And if you have no stress at all, if you're a 1, that's great. It's completely normal for us to kind of fluctuate along this scale. So please feel free, if you'd like, to go ahead and put that in the chat. I can share right now, I'm hovering around a 3. We had a couple of unexpected expenses after a car inspection today. So finances are definitely on my mind. Let's see. So we're seeing a 2, some 4. Okay. Oh, yes. Flying, absolutely. Work, all caps, absolutely. So we're seeing a good range here. Yes, perimenopause, absolutely.
We hear that a lot, by the way.
Absolutely.
Uncommon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Tara, I don't know if you want to share what number you're kind of hovering at today.
So, here's the thing. Typically mine is too much work, not enough time. That is typically my time. Mm-hmm. But we recently hired a really terrific admin executive assistant who is fantastic, and she is taking a lot of the stress off of me at the moment. But typically it's too much work, not enough time, and I'm at a 4 typically.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So thank you everyone for sharing. And I think the big consensus here is that, we can all find ourselves on this scale of stress as the days go. And it's something, completely common to the human experience. So, Isabella, if you'd like to go to the next slide. What if we were to tell you that there is a quick, easy, and effective solution that you can implement to reduce the symptoms of stress in less than 5 minutes? That is what we are here to talk to you about today. It's almost like having a panic button in your pocket that you can pull out anytime, anywhere in the moment to reduce these symptoms before they start to snowball. So that is what we will talk about. And sorry, Isabella, you can go to the next one. Perfect. With the Spot It 4-step method. So this is a proven evidence-based method that was developed in the 1930s by a brilliant neuropsychologist, Dr. Abraham Lowe. As we mentioned, it's practical, it's in the moment, you can use it anytime, anywhere. And the cool thing about it is it's a peer-to-peer method. So all of you, even here on the meeting today, are going to be learning this method, and you can actually practice spotting with each other. As Tara had mentioned earlier, she did this with one of her clients. She walked her through the method and helped her client to reflect on the situation that was causing her stress. So it's either peer to peer or it's something that you can completely do on your own.
Yep. And some of our clients who are using it, so the Joint Air Force and Army and base in South Jersey, we've been teaching it to the military personnel there for the past 2 years. Jefferson Health Plans is a client of ours. If you know EDA Contractors, they're a client of ours, and RVE, an engineering company. They're just a few of them who we've introduced the Spot It method to and who are using it. And the whole idea is we like to help people. We call it I Speak Spot It. Like, so if your colleagues speak Spot It and you're triggered by something, you can reach out to that colleague and go, do you have 5 minutes to spot with me, spot the situation? So when we say spot, we're putting a spotlight on the situation, something that's triggering us. And then also the phrases that we're using. So because the change that we're inviting everybody to utilize is it's really a shift in your mindset. So you're shifting from fearful thoughts to more balanced thoughts. And the spots are also the name of the phrases that we use. It's the gold of the Spot It program. You're replacing these default sort of negative thoughts, negative leaning thoughts, to more positive leaning thoughts, more balanced thoughts, more soothing thoughts. And then they become your default thinking versus the fearful ones, right? So that's the invitation for today. And you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So what does Spot It do really? So one, it helps us pinpoint exactly what's bothering us. We may not know. We just may feel unsettled in our bodies, and you can't figure it out. So let's start with something. Is it that situation? I was spotting with my husband and business partner, Evan, and he didn't know what was going on. And when we started spotting, we realized what came up with him was he was missing his dad. His dad had died about 6 months before, and it was grief. But he couldn't, until he started spotting, that's what came up. So sometimes it makes the unconscious conscious, and you can clear it. It helps us become present to our thoughts. It has us slow down a little bit and become more objective. So we can't be in the drama. We can't be in the worked up. It's not the same part of your brain. So when we start to look at the situation, you get to be more objective, and it starts calming you down. Again, replacing the fearful, insecure thoughts with thoughts that make you feel more secure. When that happens, our confidence gets raised, our self-esteem gets raised. We also feel less alone because the Spot It method, you can do it yourself. You can do it on the app. We have an app, so if you want to be super confidential, you can just do it, on the app. But we often say you can do it with somebody and you feel more supported that you're going through this method. And you don't have to be a psychiatrist. You're not diagnosing anything. You're just asking people to follow these 4 steps. So a manager can do it with staff that comes in who's upset. So it's a tool for yourself and a leadership tool that will help other people and yourself be more emotionally intelligent. It helps us become less reactive, less triggered. So when the future situations comes up, what normally would bounces up this high, maybe only bounces it up there. And hopefully as it gets better, it doesn't even bounce you that high. So that's the promise over time. Also, it helps us find a sense of humor. When we are stressed and upset, you're sort of caught in it when you've lost the ability to laugh at it and see the humor of it. Spotted is working for you when you go, oh, yeah, there I go again. Or, yep, there's that situation again. I've been there, but it doesn't trigger you and, send your emotional and your physical body in high alert. So that's highlights of what Spotted does. And we can go to the next slide. So the main shift in this method, so we're going to share some basic concept, is our peace of mind becomes our primary goal. So typically in life, looking good is a primary goal. Being right is a primary goal. That whole, sometimes beating ourselves up is a primary goal. We don't start out wanting it to be, but it becomes, not letting ourselves off the hook. In Spotted, the new game is, and it sounds so basic and fundamental, but it's super powerful if you really understand what it means, is you make your peace of mind your primary goal. And we'll talk about what that looks like. We can go to the next slide.
All right. So with all that context, let's actually look at the method and ground it now. So we're going to walk you through how to implement the method, what it looks like, and how it works. So as we've been talking about, there are 4 steps to this method, and you can see this on the left-hand side of the screen. Also, just wanted to make a quick note here that Tara put in the chat this exact reference card that all of you can download. And it's completely free for your resources. So step 1 is the situation. We ask that you briefly and calmly describe the situation or event. Now, Dr. Lowe said that we don't want to relive the situation. As Tara was mentioning, we want to be objective. We just want to retell the situation. So try to avoid adjectives, try to avoid getting into the theatrics of the situation. Just try to keep it as objective and short, essentially, as possible. Step 2, we're going to talk about the symptoms, both your body and your mental symptoms. So we all have physical reactions to stress. You may know what your tells are already. For example, I get a tightness in my chest and in my throat. My jaw clenches. I fractured teeth because of it, unknowingly realizing that was a stress response. So you can even reflect, how is your body reacting to this specific situation? And then the second part of step 2 is your thoughts. What is going on in your internal dialogue? Where are your thoughts going? And you don't have to filter this here. You can be completely honest. What are you thinking naturally about this situation? And we often find, even if it's a negative thought, anything like that, this is where you share it. Step 3 is also a 2-parter, spots and self-endorse. So spots, as Tara mentioned, are the gold of this method. They are the phrases that you can see here on the right-hand side. And now this is only 40 examples of spots. I believe Dr. Lowe had like 400 or so, Tara. So there's a lot more than this. However, we're just starting with these 40 here. And these are essentially the more neutralized and secure thoughts that you can use to replace the maybe negative thoughts going on in your mind. So when you're spotting a situation, we ask that you maybe select 2 or 3 spots in the beginning that you can focus on, and you can default to thinking about those spots rather than the other unfiltered thoughts going on in your mind. And then the second piece of step 3 is to self-endorse. So this is where we get the opportunity to give ourselves a pat on the back for essentially anything that we've done either that day or just generally. It doesn't always have to be related to the situation. It can be that you got up, you brushed your teeth, you went to work. You all went to work today. Unfortunately, in our society, we can be really good at being critical of ourselves, but rarely do we stop to give ourselves a pat on the back. So the spot it method really encourages and requires us to do that. And then finally, step 4, success. So this is the opportunity for you to measure the growth that you've experienced since starting the Spot It method. So it gives you a chance to reflect on how you would have maybe reacted to the situation prior to implementing the Spot It method, and measuring the growth in the moment. So that's
and then
it.
and that's it, right, Jamie? So you must be saying, oh my God, what is this? It really, can this really help me when I'm triggered? Sarah, you may notice from the Shanti Project, if you're familiar, this is CBT, so cognitive behavioral training. So this is the gold standard, and truly, Dr. Lowe, we like to call him the grandfather of cognitive behavioral therapy. So we don't lead with that because we lean more on the emotional intelligence side and as a leadership tool. But just know there is power and lots of evidence behind this method. And then after the individual goes through the 4 steps, then Jamie, if she was taking your example, she would share spots that you would go into like a soundproof booth, and then Jamie would take over, and then she would share a couple spots for you to listen to. And then after that's over, that's it. It's not a discussion. They're not talking back and forth to each other. It's really step 1, situation, step 2. It's that you can have what we call fellowship afterwards, but when you are doing the method, you are really just doing the method and following it along. So that's the ease of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, we wanted to offer to the audience, if there's anybody in the room right now that has a situation that they would like to spot. And don't worry, we're going to walk you through it step by step. We understand that this is new to everybody. But if anybody does have a situation in mind that they'd like to share, please feel free to.
That's shareable in a professional setting, right?
Absolutely. Yes, in a professional setting, of course. Good caveat there.
Anybody having trouble balancing the work and family life? I think that's one that a lot of people or something. Anybody willing to come off mute? We do have a special gift for you if you join in.
Yes.
Well, and I hate to put anyone on the spot, but I know Portia well. And she did add in the chat that she has she's closing a York, PA plant on March 27th, and that put her at a 4. So, Portia, and I know you're so generous with yourself and sharing. Would you be willing to maybe walk through this with Jamie?
Sure, I'd love to practice.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Portia. And again, we'll walk you through every step by step. So to begin, step 1, the situation. So if you could briefly and calmly describe the situation.
Yes, the current situation is we decided to close a plant that's impacting about 12 employees. And the last day of the opening and closing is next Friday. So my stress level is just up because it's going to be the last time I'm saying goodbye to employees I've worked with for almost a decade. So I'm really just kind of having a lot of anxiety around that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And step 2, symptoms. So Portia, what are your physical sensations? What's happening in your body in response to this stress?
I would say constant headaches, nausea, upset stomach, restlessness, I'm not sleeping. Those are, I would say, the 3 primary symptoms I'm having right now as a result of this.
Okay, great. And how about your thoughts? What's going on in your mind?
I mean, the decision is definitely way above my level. Am I doing enough? Have I provided enough resources? Am I being as empathetic and compassionate as I am naturally and authentically? And what else? I'm keep asking myself, what else could I be doing for these employees before I get there on Friday?
Yes, yes, beautiful. And step three, spots and self-endorse. So we'll start with the spots. So Portia, if you want to look here on this right-hand side, some of these phrases, and maybe just select 2 or 3 that bring you peace. There's no right or wrong here.
I love the one that says anticipate, enjoy,
Yes.
or not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, going out every 2 weeks, everyone has been so appreciative and grateful that I'm showing up consistently and still being there throughout the process. So I think I need to, be open and engage and be comfortable having that joy even with the situation. And I think that's what I was struggling with. So I really like that one.
Beautiful.
Secondly, have the courage to make a mistake. This is something in my role that I've never had to do. So I'm questioning, am I doing the right thing? And I'm not sure if there really is a right thing in these scenarios where, people's livelihoods, people that have been with the company 25, 27 years longer than I have, thought that they were going to retire. So I'm going to make sure that I think about that one, have the courage to make the mistake and own it and just be compassionate with myself as a result of that. And last but not least, plan, decide, and act. And I think throughout the announcement and throughout this last 3 months, I've been trying to do that really methodically and making sure, even with conversations that are scheduled before I get there, I give people enough time to have the conversation and the emotion that's associated with it. So thank you. Oh, I like this list.
Oh, isn't it great? I know.
Yeah.
You did a great job with that. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And the second part here of step 3 is to self-endorse. So what can you give yourself a pat on the back for related to the
Well, I
situation?
think just acknowledging. I think I have
Yes.
to acknowledge the feelings, and I think um, working through those, because I think holding on to anything, holding on to that unknown is what's causing the stress and the anxiety. So I think kind of acknowledging that it's normal. These are the type of things that happen. I mean, this is like a mourning. I'm going to be mourning the loss of coworkers and employees. And I think I just need to really focus on owning it and just kind of letting my body process and deal with um, the emotions, with the reactions as they occur and not holding on to it. So like right now, I'm already holding on to things and I'm not going until the 27th. So after this call, I'm going to be letting it go.
Got it
And
and
I'm going
drop
to
it.
practice that, celebrating the joy every day. And when I get there next Friday, I think I'll be in a better mindset.
Beautiful reflection there, Portia. Beautiful. Thank you. And then finally, step 4, success. Now, this one might be a little bit difficult today because you just learned the method, but eventually you'll be able to measure how you would have responded, you kind of just shared, prior to, implementing this method versus now. So I think you spoke about, being able to let it go now a little bit more, hopefully, versus maybe in the past where it would have lingered a bit. And if there's anything else that you'd like to share about how you would have responded to stress.
Yes. And well, Jamie, just in the essence of time, because I want to make sure we honor the next presenters. Why don't you give 1 or 2 spots, and then we'll go to our last slide.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. So, Portia, I would offer a couple more spots for you too. Spot it and drop it, as we talked about. Don't make an emergency out of it. It's distressing, but not dangerous. And doing things in part acts. So one thing here at a time. And also
right.
just,
yeah, I think that's great. So that is the Spot It method. That's how it works. If you want to advance to the slide that has the QR code, we'll just show you that. and share some more resources with you, and then we'll toss it over. So you can keep
Perfect.
going. You can fast forward through these. This is some
And
spots.
great job again, Portia. Thank you so
Portia,
much.
everybody give her a
Yay!
hand. She did great. And we'll send you something. We'll get your address. We'll send you something for
Yes.
having the courage.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we'll close out here. There's a QR code. There is an app for that. Of course, you can't do anything these days without a QR code and an app. So there is an app. There is a free version of Spotted, so you can download it using this app. And again, I think a lot of this will be in the follow-up emails as well. You can follow us on Why Not Spotted on LinkedIn, and we share a lot of resources there. But thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Portia. Wonderful. And I have to say, just when we started that conversation, to hear Tara Marcus, whose name is on the company, say her stress level was at a 4, made me realize I'm not alone, right? Just recognizing kind of this universal, we're all susceptible to stress at points in our lives. So thank you. That was great. For more than a decade, the Shanty Project has served over 5,000 children and adults through their programs right here in the Lehigh Valley. They teach evidence-based mindfulness strategies to reduce employee stress, improve productivity, and cultivate wellness so your team can arrive at work each day with genuine focus to meet your organization's goals and achieve top peak performance. We are so pleased this afternoon to have Kim Hopkins and Sarah Dennehy with us from the Shanty Project. Ladies, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Denise. Actually, it's just me today. Kim
Okay.
was not able to join us, so it's me, everyone. And you know what? Let's talk some more about stress. Let's continue the conversation. But more importantly, the role that mindfulness plays in reducing stress, and the science that shows how mindfulness works, and why something like Spot It works as well. So next slide, please. So before we get into the science of mindfulness, let's just sort of define what it is. So very simply, mindfulness means paying attention to what's happening right here, right now. John Kabat-Zinn is known as the father of Western mindfulness. He brought mindfulness to University of Massachusetts in the late 70s. And John says that mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So basically what that means, it's just present moment awareness that you're not attaching to. And you're able to recognize what's happening in the moment without the emotional ties that go along with it. And it's essentially the opposite of autopilot. So if autopilot means that your body is doing one thing, but your mind is somewhere else. So it could be a habit or a routine that you're so used to that your mind is able to wander away. So you might notice, you arrive at work and, you realize that you don't even remember the drive because you were in your head the whole time. And it also might mean that it's more like emotionally driven, right? So your emotions are in charge and acting on your behalf. So mindfulness is the opposite of that. And, just think about how many times during the day are you physically present, but you're mentally somewhere else. So what it comes down to is that mindfulness is a practice, and it is a practice. So just like anything else, let's, talk about exercise. It's not something that you do once and then you're able to reap all the benefits. So mindfulness is a practice. And with a consistent practice, you can train your brain to respond to what's happening inside you and around you rather than automatically react. Next slide, please. So well, okay, there we go. I love to learn about, read about, talk about the science behind mindfulness. But today we're just going to kind of focus on the brain instead of the whole nervous system. Just for the sake of time, we're going to focus on three specific parts of the brain. Next slide, please. All right, so the first part is the prefrontal cortex, and that's located at the front of the brain. And this is where you do your thinking, learning, planning, making choices, solving problems. If we were to give the prefrontal cortex a nickname, we would call it, which we actually do when we teach this to children in schools. We call the prefrontal cortex the thinker. The next part we're going to focus on is the hippocampus. So this is located deep inside the brain. There's actually a piece of it in either hemisphere, in both hemispheres. And this is where we store short-term memories and information. So the nickname for the hippocampus is the librarian. And then the third part is the amygdala, and this is located close to the hippocampus. Again, there's one in either hemisphere, and this area of the brain is sometimes known as or referred to as the emotional center of the brain. So the amygdala is there to protect you from danger. So the amygdala's nickname is the watchdog. So how does this tiny little piece in your brain protect you from danger? It does that by releasing, when it senses danger, it releases chemicals, hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, that prepare you to fight as hard as you can or run as fast as you can, or in some cases, you may need to freeze and make yourself like small. So so let's say you're about to walk across the street, you look both ways, everything is clear. You step out into the road, and out of nowhere, a car is just barreling down the street toward you. So before you have even acknowledged that this car is coming, your amygdala has sensed it, has sensed the danger, and goes into action. So it activates and it releases those chemicals and sends you into what I'm sure you've heard of, is fight or flight, releases those chemicals. Your muscles start to get tight, your heart rate increases, your breathing increases. So this is the physical reaction that's occurring. And of course, you're going to run back to the sidewalk. So you go into flight mode. And that is how your amygdala has protected you. Now, when this happens, when your amygdala activates and kind of takes over, any systems in your brain and your nervous system that are not necessary in this moment go offline. So that includes your prefrontal cortex, your thinking logical brain, and your hippocampus, where you store information. These are not needed in this moment. You don't want to be standing in the road, kind of like logically deciding what is the best course of action in this moment. And other systems in your body, like your digestive system, they will sort of go offline. You are in survival mode. So anything else your nervous system considers non-essential in this moment. So, think about when you've been in a situation like that, when you jump back on the sidewalk, you're just filled with that feeling, that adrenaline. And eventually that's going to, course through you, and then you'll sort of be done. You'll be out of the stress cycle and back to normal, what we call homeostasis. So, unfortunately, the amygdala can get it wrong sometimes, and it considers difficult or overwhelming emotions, it considers that dangerous. So the same thing is going to happen. Think about when you're angry or even excited, or anxious or frustrated. Okay, that your amygdala is going to, signal danger and release those chemicals. So, your muscles will get tight, your heart rate increases, and you're not in any actual danger, but your amygdala doesn't know the difference. So, let's say you get an email that is very frustrating. So your amygdala activates and you kind of lose your thinking brain. You're very activated, and what would be your reaction in that moment? So, you are in fight or flight. So that doesn't mean that you're gonna get up and you're gonna go find the person who sent that email and beat them up. It just means that you have that feeling of like maybe aggression, and you might immediately react by typing an email back to them that uses language that maybe, if you were in your right mind, you wouldn't be using and you might regret later. Or you have, you turn to another coworker and, you're using maybe aggressive language against that person. Um, or you might go into flight mode and you're just like, that's it, I'm out, I quit, I don't want to do this anymore. So it's kind of that desire to run or that desire to fight. And that's your amygdala in action. So how do we get the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus back online so we don't react in that manner? And the answer is so simple. The answer is breath. Taking a mindful or a deep breath or a belly breath. So that breath is not going to take your anger or frustration away. You're still going to be upset. What it's doing is signaling to the rest of your brain, to your nervous system, that you are safe, that you are no longer in danger. When you are in fight or flight, your breath gets very shallow, okay? And when you take that slow, mindful breath and you continue breathing, again, the signal is that you are safe and you don't have to react. So you're still upset, but now you're back in your right mind, right? Your thinking brain is back on, and you can say to yourself, you know what, I'm gonna step away from, I'm not gonna respond or react to this email right now. I'm gonna walk away, maybe do the spot it method, or take some more breaths, get a drink of water, just talk to a friend, whatever I know now that I'm thinking more clearly, whatever I know that helps me feel much more calm. Can you go to the next? Okay, thank you. So, the wonderful thing about a mindfulness practice is that it helps to strengthen that prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. And it also reduces the reactivity of the amygdala. The amygdala will always be there for you when you're in actual danger. And you still might have that stress response, but with consistent practice, that pause, that ability to step back, take that breath, that almost comes automatically. And so you're better able to respond rather than let your amygdala react for you. And we can actually get stuck in that fight or flight response. And especially these days, there's just so much information and just bad news coming at us. So, if you're on your way to work and you're stuck in traffic, and then you get to work and, you're hearing the latest news, and then you get that email, and maybe later this afternoon you have a big presentation you have to give. So, you've got all these, your amygdala is very activated, but you're not able to take those pauses because the information keeps coming and coming. You can get stuck. And that's chronic stress. You can't get out of the stress cycle. So unfortunately, we can get stuck in that chronic stress cycle, not just for hours or days, but for months or years. And that leads to physical and mental issues, cardiac issues, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, are all come from being stuck in that stress cycle. Next slide, please. So this is why we practice. We're improving focus and attention. We're strengthening that prefrontal cortex. At the same time, we're increasing our self-awareness. We're more aware of, okay, I'm getting that tense feeling or that feeling in my stomach, and we're able to take that pause. We're better able to manage emotions when we're able to really feel them, to label them, as Jamie and Tara were talking about. So when we get in those anxious thought loops, we're more aware of it and can take the steps to come out of it. We're cultivating compassion at the same time, because in that pause, let's go back to that angry email. If you're able to pause, take a breath, come back to a more logical brain, you can say to yourself, you know what, I know that person is under a lot of stress, or, has a lot going on. Maybe they didn't mean what they said, or maybe I'm taking it the wrong way. So we're developing more empathy and just recognizing the humanity in each other. So kind of to wrap it all up, mindfulness helps us recognize the stress and pause, breathe, name it, and then respond rather than automatically react to what's going on. And then the last slide is just some QR codes for Shanti Project resources if you are interested. Thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. That's amazing. And we will share all of these QR codes and links, to additional information. Today, we just kind of get an overview. I think I have to have a conversation with my amygdala. I think sometimes, we're not always on the same page. But I know we have participants today who have been focused on wellness in the workplace. And I do want to make sure we hear some best practices from our group. And I know we're blessed to have Sean from Citronia with us this afternoon. And Sean, would you mind maybe just sharing a little bit of what Citronia has been working on in this space and where you've seen some success?
Sure. We recently, matter of fact, just last month, we became a Blue Zones project approved work site. And Blue Zones is basically, if you're not familiar with it, they're areas in the world where people generally live a lot longer than the average. And it's basically a combination of physical wellness and mental well-being also. So what we've done is we kind of rolled out, like we do weekly, we send out tips to our employees on how to de-stress, things like this, letting them know where they can find places where maybe they can learn about mindfulness and things like that. Or whether maybe sometimes it's recipes, sometimes it's just like ideas on how to get exercise better and things like that. We've also tried to help our employees with some of the things that, that bring stressors to them outside of the workplace. I've partnered with a lot of local banks and credit unions to bring people in to speak to our employees about financial education and financial wellness. Because I have a younger demographic. Typically, I'm hiring people nowadays that are in their early to mid 20s. Who really, something as simple as balancing their checkbook or being financially secure, that's very stressful to them. I mean, they see what's going on out there. They're very, very social media connected and such. So they don't ever get a lot of good news. Okay. So they're hearing bad things and they're never going to own a home and they're going to, pay this and that. So we've done things like that to help them have people talk to them and walk them through what they're going through and give them ideas and such. And through the Blue Zones Project, we have a committee and it's made up of both management people and hourly employees. And, we discovered the hourly employees, they really want to do events. I think there's a lot of lonely people out there who want to connect better. So they've asked for, hey, can we do like a bowling night? We're going to do like some sort of a community garden on our property here where they can do things like that. They've asked about sponsoring just different people to do as we get into the spring and summer, like walkathons and such, so that they can not only do healthy things, but it makes them feel good because they're going out there actually helping with some of these events. Like I know one of them specifically mentioned an Alzheimer's walk, where we sponsor a group of people to do things like that. So we've really found that they're starting to get much more engaged and much more open about talking about different things as we've done these types of things. And the whole point of it too is with the Blue Zones thing is, yeah, how can we drop our absenteeism? How can we have people be healthier when they come to work, do a better job at work because they're focused, on the job. And, because obviously people can't always just separate, their home life and their work life. I mean, they intermingle, try as we might, to have it not happen and all that kind of stuff. And we've had, like we've done things like fitness club reimbursement. So most of my employees, if they go to a gym, they can submit for reimbursement every month. And because we try and teach them too about better ways to de-stress. In our business, healthcare people are the worst people at taking care of their own health. They just don't do it. And in my business particularly, it's 12-hour shifts and that kind of thing. So they eat too much, they drink too much. They don't know where to go. How to get rid of their stress. So we've really pushed that aspect of it too. And our employees have really gotten heavily engaged with it. We've now started doing like once a month potlucks. We did one yesterday for St. Patrick's Day, and employees bring in different foods and other types of things, and they give us the themes. I hear next month they'd like to do a Middle Eastern food potluck and such. So we've just gotten a lot of engagement, and that's to me one of the most surprising things is how much they want to do things with each other. They want to connect with other people. They need more connections with people in a less stressful environment than what they normally deal with. Dealing with people who are calling 911 for an ambulance.
Thank you, Sean. I love that. And you mentioned financial literacy, and in the chat, we have Christy saying at Magellan, they focus on financial literacy and financial wellness with communities and companies, and it's a big, stressor, right? If
Yes.
you're having financial problems. And so speaking of financial, I know we also have Candace on the line from PSECU, and they've been focused on wellness of their employees. And Candace, would you mind sharing with us just a little bit of your efforts and how they're paying off?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Denise. And this has been really wonderful, very timely. I was reminded of the power of the pause. So thank you so much to all our presenters. But at PSECU, we usually are, like Sean mentioned, like, out in the field, helping, educating people about their finances and how to lower stress through financial education tips and tricks. But you have to make sure that the people who are doing the teaching are also healthy, right? Mentally stable as well, and managing their finances. So our PSECU offers a wealth of resources. And what I love is that we are incentivized to take advantage of those tips, those resources. We partner with different vendors, and it really helps us in our pocketbook. Because if we participate in those lunch and learns, if we get out there and we're walking and we're participating in all the different programs that they have available, it's a reduction. It represents a reduction in our insurance premium. So nothing like that to kind of motivate you to get out there and take advantage of these things. But, volunteering is something that we've found also to be a great motivator for our employees. Not only are they benefiting the community, but they get this sense of reward also from helping and just being exposed to people who are sometimes not in as the same situation as us. You have a fresh appreciation for what you do have, and just the change of pace, change of environment really does a world of good to boost, your mental health. So that's something that we're strongly encouraged to do. And again, we also offer financial literacy not only for our community partners, but for our team as well, which is well appreciated because the money impacts everything, right? So, yeah, but thank you for this opportunity and thanks for all the tips that were shared today.
And thank you, Candace, and thank you, Sean. And you know what I love about your comments is you don't have to overcomplicate this. You can have a potluck on Friday, right? Like,
Mhm.
and that helps at Citronia. Why would it not help in our businesses too? So I think that's the other message I'm hearing from you is that we don't have to analyze this to death. We can just do something good and then do something else good and let that kind of have some momentum. I do want to go back to the chat. I love that we started with the question of put in the chat, like, what's your level of stress? And we had a couple people put some fives in there. And if you remember the chart, like 5 was in the red with a big frowny face. So I would love to, and Ruben, boy, isn't it stressful if someone puts you on the spot? That probably takes you from a 5 to a 6. But I'm going to ask Ruben, I think you're still on with us. Anything you hear today that might take you off of that 5 and give you a breath and get you maybe to a 4? Anything you can take away and apply from what you've heard today? I think hopefully Ruben is unmuted. Well, he's probably running for the hills. His amygdala was like, oh my gosh, she just called on me. How about Vanessa? I saw Vanessa also had a 5 in there. I know Vanessa is with us. Anything you heard today that might kind of, give you some tips or tricks or tools to bring that level down a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely like when she said just take a breath. Sometimes we tend to overreact, or I don't know, I do, or take the situation further than it needs to be. But taking a breath and kind of like analyzing the situation, I thought that was a really useful tip.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Vanessa. How about
No problem.
Dr. Mosley? We just assume because you're always beautiful and smiling, you have no stress. I was surprised you put a 4.5 in today. Anything you heard today that you'll be able to use and, maybe help you feel a little less stressed?
I love when they were doing the spotted list. So I was trying to like look through it and I did screenshots of it because not that I didn't trust that it was going to be shared, but like I wanted it now. So I love some of the things about basically walking away, the positive reinforcement to yourself, and even as simple as taking a breath. That's a big one. That's a big one with family, friends, everyone, right? So like I love that. And it's nice seeing everyone. It's been a while.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Mosley. Appreciate it. I will say that list, we will absolutely share all these resources and the contact information for our presenters today. That list also caught my eye. A couple things popped out. Approval is a want, not a need. That was like a stake through my heart, right? Approval is a want, not you don't need approval, you want it, and that's causing you stress. I thought if there was a mirror, I was looking right into it at that one. Give up the need to be right, and people do things that annoy us, but not to annoy us. Like there was just brilliance in there and probably a lot of therapy in those lists. So we will make sure that they are shared with the group today. On behalf of the Workforce Board Lehigh Valley and the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, thank you for joining today's Engage Roundtable, sponsored by the PA Department of Community and Economic Development. Links to our resources that are shared today will be included in our post-event message and survey. I also invite you to reach out to me with your thoughts and suggestions on any future impactful and timely topics that you'd like us to address in these Engage Roundtable topics. Thank you for joining us. Wishing you a stress-free and productive afternoon. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.